Right, hello everybody. I hope the stream's working. Okay, so the good news is that I can see quality options, and now I can see the video. So, I'm going to take that as the stream working. It's good to see you all. It's actually been a while. It feels like it has been a while since I have done Hollow Knight, but I think that's because it's been a while since I've done a stream, because obviously Monday we had Phantom Brigade, which I'm really enjoying, and then this Wednesday was the local game dev collective, Dirty Rectangles, which I'm always very fond of playing, or sort of attending, but it does mean that I don't get to do a stream on Wednesday. And so as a result, I guess it was last Wednesday that I did Hollow Knight. And of course we finished Roll Galaxy Outlaw. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that was I'm feeling, I want to do much like what I'm doing with Hollow Knight, and definitely a little bit of feedback I was given in terms of the stream, as it does seem that people like it when I focus on a game and work on it and sort of see it through to completion on a somewhat regular basis. Now, I'm not entirely sure I can turn Hollow Knight into sort of like my main game. I feel like this is a game that gets a lot of coverage, which is nice, and it's very pleasant to run into so many people who like the game. But I am a little self-conscious about the fact that I feel like I need to be giving some added value. And of course, on that note, I've been trying to cut back on the intro time, because again, I don't really think people are going to be shaking their fist at the heavens over missing the first couple of minutes of gameplay. Sankoshu, your immediate reaction, woo, Hollow Knight, ooh, Deep Nest. So yeah, this is funny. We knew full well that people were inviting us to sort of sit down and have to have a seat in their lab or whatever that was. It was not to our benefit. But I wanted to see where it was going. I mean, this is the big appeal to me for this game, is the ability to explore this really beautiful world. And it seems to be one thing I really like about this, and I think this is just another statement as to the quality of this game. Oops. Wow. Okay. Let's not lose our heads here. Sorry, I really need to concentrate on these guys. Yeah, we ran into this spot last stream, and it provoked very strong reactions. So I don't know. I think it's a great indication that you're playing a really special game when people have these these memories of these areas. It can sometimes manifest itself in somewhat more negative forms, because there's and I'll give people credit for not doing this. Is especially horror games. I was wondering if they could climb up the walls. But yeah, especially horror games or something like that. And I see this probably more often as a viewer rather than a broadcaster, but there's always going to be that type of person in the channel who's like, oh man, this bit's coming up. I can't wait to see how he reacts. It's going to blow his mind. And, everybody likes to be coy about spoil. I think probably people have sort of figured out the whole backseating and spoiler stuff, so everybody kind of tries to be coy about it. You know, they ask very leading questions. Most broadcasters I know are not idiots. Like, they know what's going on. And, of course, it's just, you know, knowing that some big surprise is going to be coming is about as good as knowing that the thing is going to happen. And so, like I said, it's a double-edged sword when somebody has these really strong memories of a particular part of a game. It's really exciting to be able to share something that clearly matters to people. But depending on how that excitement manifests itself, it can sometimes be something that doesn't exactly spoil, but diminishes the experience of the game, because you're getting it. You're kind of getting the secondary experience after someone else has played it. I'm curious what that heartbeat is. Yeah, I mean, I've never been too worried. Like, so I guess the thing for me is I've personally never been too worried about that myself, for the same reason that a lot of movies that I really like, like, they still hold up after the twist or whatever the thing that somebody might consider to be a spoiler. I think it's an underappreciated fact that a substantial percentage, possibly even a majority, I actually don't remember where I saw this research originally, so I'm giving an anecdote more than like a hard fact. But publishers did a study on readership behavior. And this study showed a substantial number of people will turn to the last page of a book before reading it or buying it. And this is kind of counter to the really common experience, which is, you know, people don't like spoilers, don't want to be spoiled, you know, kind of want to go in and have their own experience of things. And obviously everybody's different. Like, there's only so far that kind of research can really take you, because, you know, when you're speaking about a group, you know, one of the things you usually do here is you do a little bit of risk management. So if you happen to be the sort of person who likes experiencing a game for themselves, this is tricky. Oop, that was boneheaded of me. You know, if you're the sort of person who does not want to have any knowledge of a product coming in, I always feel so bad whenever I hear this. If you're one of those people who doesn't want to have any sort of leading indication of what the experience is going to be, talking about it, you can't unring that bell. You're going to have to sort of deal with the fact that the experience, you potentially have made the experience less than what it could have been for somebody who wants to enjoy it on that note. On the other hand, I also definitely feel that there is a type of person that maybe doesn't care so much about the spoilers so much as complaining about spoilers as a chance to, you know, make the conversation about them. So if you haven't seen something, and you know, there's a conversation going on, being able to say, you know, oh, I haven't seen it, no spoilers, no spoilers. Well, now, you know, now it's about you. You know, it's not about a thing that would have potentially not been about you. And obviously, you know, there's not always a really, like, the thing about that is it's not always a really good, like, to do that judgment, what are you really gaining? Like, if you miscalculate somebody's motivations along those lines, then again, you're the one who's a jerk rather than the person who's making it about them. So, as with most things, it's, you know, exercise good judgment. But what I was hoping to do here was talk more about sort of this location. The fact that so many people have strong views on this location is just another comment on how effective this game is at building its atmosphere and the clear. Like, you know, it's hard to dispute the effect that this game has had on its audience, given how people respond to this sort of stuff. And how are you doing, Night Valiant? Good to see you here as always. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to talk to you that much during Nights and Bikes, but I've been trying to catch up on sleep a little bit, so I'm happy to turn on your stuff, but I know I'm not a very active chatter in your channel all the time. And I do apologize for turning the conversation to sort of the negative manifestations of this kind of enthusiasm, because I really did want to highlight the fact that, for the most part, chat has been very good at being able to communicate its enthusiasm without sort of giving me the second-hand experience. And that was the thing I wanted to focus on a little bit more. Also, it gives me a chance to... it gives me something to talk about while I... avoid perishing. You may sell your handy. You know, actually, that's another thing that's been really, really kind. So I'm a little bit of a hypocrite when it comes... I think we were talking about this on a previous stream where I'm not crazy about the type of... I don't think we have a map here, right? Oh, maybe I do. No. This is in Distant Village. So this is a whole area a whole unmapped area of Distant Village. I'm trying to decide which battles I want to take first. But yeah, we were talking a little bit about the idea of like good at video games. And in one sense, right, like everybody kind of has this idea. It's like if you've ever read like a screenplay, particularly a screenplay by someone you know, you'll see some kind of direction like smash cut to, it's like, and what exactly is a smash cut? It's like, oh, you know what a smash cut is. And yeah, you do, right? You know, even if you don't know that much about editing, you have an idea. If you see the word smash cut, you could probably make a reasonable guess as to what the author's talking about. But last I checked, there is exactly one type of edit you can do, and that is a cut between... Well, okay, obviously there are things like fades and whatnot, but like when it comes to cuts... You have exactly one cut. You have shot one, you have shot two. There is some form of juxtaposition of the two shots. You know, the smash is not really something you can do. You know, and the experience. Oh Jesus, this is tough. Oh wow, I can't move at all. Oh, that's really crappy. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to deal. Like I don't know. Like, I'm feeling a little cheated by that. I couldn't move my character anywhere out of it. So yeah, now apparently I'm not handling the environment well. But that was a weird bug. He usually doesn't go past the whole... Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say... Obviously, anytime I lose at something, I don't want to attribute it to a bug. But suffice to say, like, I was not able to move past that at all. That was a little frustrating to deal with. Unfortunately, I did lose my... I'm slightly disoriented now. I'm trying to figure out where I was intending on going. But yeah, so the idea of like good at games. So like everybody has an idea. Obviously, you know, if you play Dota 2 and you see someone who is on sort of a top tier team who plays the game professionally. Ooh. That's quite the range. This is a person who is good at Dota 2, and there's no point in sort of dancing around the idea. They are significantly better than most of the people who will play the game. The fact of the matter is, very few games are ever played with that kind of experience in mind. Even Dota 2, like the majority of people who play Dota 2, so think about Gabe Newell, right? I don't think Gabe Newell particularly cares what his score is, like in terms of the matchmaking right now. And Dota 2, I from what I understand, he does play the game and still likes it. But suffice to say, I don't really think his primary concern is whether or not he's going to be playing at the International. I think his attendance at the International is kind of a given, but as a host. But there does really seem to be sort of a market, whether or not it's entirely supply or whether there is some sort of demand, I don't know, but there definitely really seems to be a lot of broadcasters who will put, hardest difficulty in the title. And the fact of the matter is, I'm not entirely sure the experience of Hollow Knight is, is about one-shotting all the bosses or something. That kind of mastery. Yeah. Even with all the creepiness, this is still a very pretty area. I didn't know they could fall down the hole. I learned something. Okay, cool. Oh, funny you mentioned that. Now I'm interested in Night Valley. I'm just going to take a second to sip my coffee because it's still somewhat hot. I also just got a message from someone somewhat hot, so I'm going to deal with that. There is a reason why I'm bringing this up again, by the way, but... Sorry about this. So Hollow Knight is very much a Souls-like, since Souls-like Metroid, so it can be an adjustable... I didn't know that there were... Oh, sorry. It can be an adjustable difficulty with mods. You can always have one health in Iron Man mode, and people will play that, and they'll beat it. Hello, Johan. Yeah, so the thing for me on this is that... and the reason why I mentioned I'm a little bit of a hypocrite, I sometimes wonder what is being communicated. One thing that really provoked this was... for me at least, was Cyberpunk 2077, because there's a lot of things that I think people were excited for Cyberpunk 2077, but it being the next esport, or it being something that was sort of the definitive hardcore gamer experience, is to me, that was not the thing that people were looking forward to in that game. And in fact, I would argue, especially in a time when a lot of us have very large libraries of Steam games, and of course now, very large libraries of Epic games. Battlefront 2 is currently the free game on Epic Store. So, that's something worth picking up, right? As everyone who is complaining about the microtransactions and the cost of Battlefront 2, you really cannot argue with free at this point. I know they'll come up with other reasons to complain. But yeah, I mean, in the presence of huge backlogs, one might make the argument that in order to experience a lot of the games that we're interested in, there might be some value in actually playing them on lower difficulties. But ultimately, for me, the question that I have is, what is the purpose of advertising on your stream that you're playing the game on the hardest difficulty? Clearly, people do it. I know there's a lot of streamers who make it a point to always play the game on the hardest difficulty, but I'm not entirely sure what the enhancement to a viewer is. Like a bunch of it I just sort of think is stupid posturing. But with that in mind, people have been really kind about saying that, oh, you're handling this area of the game quite well. And this is where I become a little bit of a hypocrite, because like there was a while, for a really long time, the only thing I was hearing from the audience was about the times that I screwed up. And this is always going to be it, right? People are short on compliments and long on ridicule, and particularly when it comes to broadcasters. But it has actually felt really nice for people to say, it's like, oh, you're doing this really well. So anyways, you bumped down a few games to easy just to get through a slog of combat and get to the end because you had sequels that you had yet to play and wanted to know how they flowed together. Yeah, this is just it. I mean, there's lots of things to experience in a game other than punishing difficulty. You can make any game arbitrarily difficult by just changing the key bindings at random. And there's a reason game developers don't do that, because it's frustrating and it's unfair. Yeah, and that's just it. Like, I think in the case of speedruns, that's a very specific kind of action, and I can see a lot of sense in that. But even then, I think the advertisement on that is to see the see the advertising of speedrun, not so much the advertising of the difficulty. Although, obviously to say a speedrun on hard mode is probably, a combination. But that's the funny thing. I actually know a few speedrunners, and very rarely do they advertise the difficulty. It's usually just kind of taken for granted that they're doing something very, very difficult. So, a sleeping figure lays atop the stone plinth. Oh, I was expecting something a little more dramatic. I'm assuming hitting... Oh. I'm guessing if it wanted me to be able to do something with this. It's also a gamer thing where if you play the hardest mod possible, you are the best. Yeah, and that's the thing that I really like. That's probably the thing I want to push back against the most. I think not least of which because there's a certain type of rhetoric in terms of like game developers. Or people talking about game developers. Oh, wow. They're all gone. Okay, now I'm curious. I'm going to do one last little run through this area. But yeah, like this whole idea of, it's like, the designer's not even very good at it. And it's like, or game reviewer's not very good at it. And I'm like, well, the ability to play the game on the hardest difficulty is not, that's not really indicative of somebody's ability to judge the quality of the game or the, or ability to make a game. I would actually argue that probably designers are better off playing games on an easier difficulty so that they can experience lots of different games in a short period of time than, grind through the hard bits of, Wolfenstein the New Order. Like, I can remember on Wolfenstein the New Order, there's a couple of bits on, I think it's I Am Death Incarnate, it's the highest one. I can never remember. There's like Nightmare for Doom and I Am Death Incarnate for Wolfenstein. This is the part I wanted to get to. But yeah, I mean, it comes back down in the end. Like, so most of you know that, like, if I've played a game, a lot of the time I have played it on a harder difficulty level. Less so for strategy games, oddly enough. Because actually, you know, the funny thing is that I feel most comfortable with strategy games. Well, that was dumb of me. Wow, that was pretty punishing. But yeah, so like in that sense, I don't shy away from playing a harder difficulty for sure. But I think once it becomes an advertising point for a broadcast, it's touching on what Night Valiant's talking about, which is, you know, the macho, I am John Gamerson, the best of the gamers, which I don't know. We could deal. I frankly think we could do with less of. And you're absolutely right. Like being able to have an accessible game is a good thing. It opens the game up to a wider audience, and I think it's perfectly. I do not think it's inconsistent with quality or difficulty. Neverwinter MMO devs made sure that set raids and stuff were a lot harder for themselves in-house because they knew that players are a lot better than themselves. Oh, that's really funny, Night Valiant. All right, let me focus a little bit more on what I'm doing here, because I feel like so I'll admit I'm not 100% sure if I'm supposed to be able to deal with the sleeping body and the a little more damage than I wanted to take, but we got through it. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be able to deal with that now, or if there's something else going on that I can deal with later. I think I can go without a hint for now, Night Valiant. I think for the time being, I want to just explore the area, see if I can. So the absence of a map for this spot definitely gives me a bit of pause. Especially because every once in a while... So if it feels like I've been ignoring chat for a little bit, I'm okay doing my rants. Okay, that's good to know. Oops! Part of it is I've been trying to keep an eye on the area and just get a little bit of a mental map. I'll admit though, it was a weird day for me today, so I'm not 100% with it. I've been trying to get a little bit of coffee in between sections, just so I can be a bit sharper than I actually am. If you're wondering why I'm walking into the wall, even though like I'm at the edge, I'm trying to build up sort of that muscle memory for handling these guys, because from the last couple of streams that I dealt with them, I underappreciated their range, and I wind up losing about four bits of health. Prey was a fun game too. Do you? Oh, actually, Night Valiant's been playing Prey lately. Actually, let me get through this. Our dear comrade Night Valiant in chat has been doing a great job with his stream. he has moved on to Knights and Bikes, which I actually haven't even seen that game before he played it, but I had heard about from a local developer who, one reason or another, they actually did not remember why they were given a copy, but they had a copy before the thing came out. And I asked them why. What special thing did they do to get access to this interesting game? I think it was because they had asked me, like, I think they'd asked me, as a streamer, what is your opinion on it? I'm like, well, my opinion is the thing isn't out yet. Okay, there's a couple of spots that I haven't been able to get back to that I recall, but at this point, I either need to do a special ability or I don't have the tools that I need to be able to overcome the challenges. So I'm going to head back to those earlier areas. I'm also really curious about this heartbeat. I should probably follow up on that actually before I do anything. Aha! A rancid egg. So in fairness, this is what I was actually looking for, but looks like we've accounted for the heartbeats and such. Yep. The rancid egg wakes up Sleeping Beauty, just like in the myths. Both Prey and Hollow Knight, most of the time you feel like taking damage or a death were mostly fair except for the moon shark. So wait, is the moon shark something in Hollow Knight? Okay, I was like, I don't like the sound of that. So I think special ability wise, unless I have an idea for making a whole lot of noise here. Yeah, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, Zankoshu. So I can remember Mass Effect. So there's a couple of instances with the Reapers, and what it should have been this really big, exciting moment where you're toe-to-toe with sort of the big bad of the series. Instead, I sort of felt that its rules weren't very well explained, and as a result, it was just sort of like, all right, we're going to punish you for not knowing what... what we thought was important, and it sort of ruined the drama of the moment. I'm sure there's something very sensible that I can do here, but whether or not I'm aware of it is a whole other question. Bloodsack, placid but putrid creature, holds rancid eggs within its gut. Now, of course, we don't know what rancid eggs are for. But yeah, anyways, it's one of these ones where it's you can actually have a potentially cool enemy and a potentially cool encounter, but the drama of the moment is completely destroyed by virtue of the it's either the feeling of unfairness or there's a number of different things that can sort of be in play, but in the end, I think it's especially because we get very accustomed to being able to just clobber the game. Because, I mean, let's face it, right? The computer does not particularly care about being beaten. I don't think, anyway. Maybe if Skynet becomes a thing, we'll find out. So I will return there if I feel like I have something to work on that plinth with. But at the moment, I feel like I'm a bit short on answers for that. I've got quite the trip ahead of me, don't I? Olaf, thank you very much for the host. I feel like it's been I think I owe you a happy new year, don't I? I feel like it's been a while. Ah, little one, where are we? I have never been to this station. It has a strange air of danger to it. Bless your heart, you've gone past the halfway mark. Yeah, no, you don't need to apologize for not being around. I definitely don't. I definitely don't take attendance. But it's nice, and especially because we've had just chats about other things. I'm not indifferent to people. I might maximize my own outcomes, but that doesn't mean I'm indifferent to others. So, but I'm glad you're doing all right. So. Or seem to be doing all right. Thank you for the sub, at least. I'm glad you're doing well enough to give me a sub. That sounds terrible. I apologize. All right. Little one, where are we? I've never been to this station. It has a strange air of danger to it. Let me take you somewhere safer, quickly. Eager to travel the Stagways? Just hop on the platform. Give me the signal, and we'll soon be on our way. Right. Let's see if I can get some things in Dirtmouth. I do like the running animation for the stag. I don't know why. I feel like the stag is an undervalued character. Did you see that tall cliff beyond the town's graveyard? That's only the base of a much larger peak. There's mines and machinery and all sorts of valuable rock forms inside. Many a traveler through Dirtmouth headed straight for it. Still looking for something to buy? Is your geo weighing you down? Unfortunately, you seem to have cleared out everything I'd be willing to part with. Nothing left at all. I think there might still be a few old trinkets down in my storeroom, but I lost the key a while ago. So no more business between us, I'm afraid. For now, at least. Get out of here and let me spend some quality time with all the geo you've gifted me. That's right, I don't think we have anything I can buy anymore.
Bah, Caponata.
After more supplies? You've already bought so much. Unfortunately for now, you've cleaned us out of anything worth selling. Cornfur will no doubt be pleased, though I do wonder what he plans to spend all that geo on. I'm very fond of it, Johan. So I should maybe caution you that it's been a couple of... it's been probably the longest break from starting the game to coming back to it. So some of my thoughts are... some of my thoughts are maybe not as clear or as well formed as they would be. I know I've said some of this stuff to you specifically in the past, but it's probably worth reiterating, especially for the people who might be fans of Hollow Knight but are not familiar with me. I'm generally not very good with Metroid-style games, and that's not due to any particular. Well, I mean, I should be careful in saying that. I mean, there are some conventions in the genre which I've had a little trouble getting into. So what I specifically mean by that... Oh, I'm feeling so good about seeing more of these guys around here. Oh, cool. Grub song. It also suggests there's going to be a lot of these little guys for me to pick up still. But yeah, so one of the things about this style, this style of game is that there's a lot of exploration. There's a lot to do, and sometimes that means backtracking, but I've occasionally sort of felt very lost in games like this, and lost for reasons that I think are sort of beyond like my responsibility. Sometimes I've gotten the impression... Now again, like this just might be because I played games that are maybe not very good examples of the genre. But kind of the game almost has this sense of smugness over like, yeah, you didn't do it in exactly the way that we ordered it, and there's no way you possibly could have known, but we're still going to punish you for doing it that way. That sort of stuff kind of annoys me. So, I had Hollow Knight for a while, and I'd sort of avoided it a little bit just because, people really like the game, and I was a bit worried that just my own sort of lack of familiarity with the type of game that it was. So, sorry, I knew what type of game it was, but, my lack of familiarity with things that probably the game expected me to take for granted. I was a bit worried that I would take this thing that people really like and then maybe not give it a fair shake just for purely personal reasons. But what I've enjoyed the most out of this is how good the game has been able to give me... so this game has given me a much better understanding of why people like these styles of games. I generally feel that, it's sort of thrown me in the deep end, but not in a point where I sort of feel like the game is privately pleased with itself for giving me... or making me sort of spend my time backtracking for reasons that are sort of, I guess I feel are not my own fault. I don't feel like the game sort of wasted my time. It's been really fun to just go through all of these different environments. Clearly, it's very well animated. It's very well drawn. Oh Jesus! I thought that was the friendly fella. Or lady, sorry. Alright, I gotta heal up. So I keep seeing these things. I feel like there should be another purpose for this place other than just me beating up on someone. Anyway, sorry, I know you're let me just catch up a little bit. Oh, that's the top cap. Thank you. But yeah, sorry, like, there's a few things that I feel about Hollow Knight, which is number one, this game has done a very good job of helping me understand why people like sort of Metroid-style game. In fact, I know I've talked about this before. I don't have anything original to say. It's all the same stuff repeated over and over again, but people like the way I say it. So it has been a long time since I've talked to this person. Bury my body, cover my shell. What's the meaning in darkness? Yet here I remain. I'll wait here forever till the light blooms again. Bury, body, cover, shell, darkness, no meaning. Dangerous, still remain. Light, again. I've been doing the Elder Scrolls, so this week we finished Morrowind. Now, my first reaction to Skyrim was to probably play it for maybe an hour, and I really did not... Oh, really? I wanted to do kind of the slam. Gotta get more, I need more life. But yeah, so... You know, I kind of felt like I was on a treadmill of quests, and I didn't like the fact that everybody was asking me to deliver their mail, despite the fact that apparently dragons were coming back and, like, the world was coming to an end. I guess I mistitled the stream. This doesn't look so scary. So what I did was I played this game. I played the Elder Scrolls Arena, the very first Elder Scrolls game. And one of the things that I found kind of interesting about Arena, it's not a perfect game by any means, but what was really interesting about that experience was at that stage of the Elder Scrolls games, I will interact with that, but I want to sort of limit my exploration a little bit. I would go into town, and like there are holidays in the Elder Scrolls world, and you can get like half off on gear, and some of the gear that you can buy in stores is really good. And so what I would wind up doing in the very first Elder Scrolls game, you can actually go everywhere in Tamriel. The only place you really can't go off the start is the Imperial capital. So you can't go to Cyrodiil, which is the location for Elder Scrolls 4. You guys kind of already know where this story is going, by the way, given the fact that I know the name of all the provinces in the continent. The end of the game is in Cyrodiil. But yeah, so what that did, like what I found was happening was I would specifically spend time in a city knowing that a special event was about to happen. You know, I'd get a good deal on a really good sword. And so I'd go to a tavern and I'd try to find some like local bounties to follow up on dungeons that would be sort of, you know, no more than a day or two out. And essentially what that would do, that would give me something to do while I took advantage of a good deal, basically. I should have known that was going to happen, but it wasn't clear to me whether or not that was so I had an impression that it was going to be something that would, would count as landing on spikes. But, whoa! not all the miners are friendly. But I wanted to check. There have been a couple of times I've made assumptions that aren't very good ones, so... But yeah, anyway, so that kind of gave me a feeling of, like, that gave me a motivation to go out and do side quests that may not be relevant towards, you know, rescuing the Emperor. And so from that sort of foundation, I wound up... yeah, I really enjoyed Arena. There was a couple of points where I sort of felt a little bit lost, but not very much. I thought Daggerfall had wonderful ambition, but I'll admit, I think the game sort of wore out its welcome before I was done with it. I'm sorry to admit. Well, thank goodness I'm finding more Rancid Eggs. But basically, through the process of playing those games, I sort of got into the mode where I was... Whoa. Well, this is going to be character building. Jesus. Basically, that experience has given me a better appreciation of what playing an Elder Scrolls game is. And so now that I've been able to play Morrowind, which is clearly, a beloved entry in the series, and one that I really felt, wow, these guys got a great aim. When I was running into those guys, I sort of thought that I might be able to take them out and get some health. But yeah, anyway, so now, I'm now done Morrowind. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. But again, it's just sort of a question of being able to, appreciate the experience rather than be frustrated by what my expectations were. Funny thing is that I recall now that I had actually played one other Elder Scrolls game before I had tried Skyrim. I had actually tried I think it was a demo? I don't know, I played a little bit of Oblivion. I was very disturbed by the fact that you could be a spellcaster and have heavy armor. I was like, you're not allowed to do that in fantasy games. Spellcasters can't have heavy armor. And again, I was very confused about what the game wanted me to do. And of course, now I know that that's the point. You're supposed to be able to go around and do anything. It's kind of like having a tabletop session with lots of different things that'll come up. But anyways, this is supposed to be about Hollow Knight. So, needless to say, there can be very, very good games, which if you have the wrong set of expectations going in, I'm pretty sure I've gone in circles now. If you have the wrong set of expectations going in, it's going to be a problem. You're not necessarily going to get the most out of it. And so this has kind of been the great joy of Hollow Knight, is that I feel like when I go back to certain types of games like this, even if they're not to the caliber of Hollow Knight, because this is very clearly a very well-made game, But I feel like Hollow Knight has sort of enabled me to appreciate a style of game which I haven't really been able to properly get into. So in addition to just very obviously being a very well-crafted game, I feel that it's one of these rare, these rare cases where I'm able to appreciate a genre which previously I hadn't quite been able to get that much mileage out of. Yeah, Daggerfall's like Daggerfall. At the start, I was like, "Wow, this is really impressive! Like, I'm super into this." And after going through a couple of dungeons, I'm like, you could have cut the number of dungeons, like you could have a quarter of the number of dungeons, and like actually take the time to go through them and make sure that they were enjoyable. And I feel like the game would have been just as good. And like the ending is like super weird, and in one sense should be a lot of fun. I love how abstract it is, but there was some real galaxy brainish kind of puzzles that, again, like I said, wonderful ambition, but the implementation just really, like, it felt like a chore by the end. I felt very bad about that, so. Yeah, I don't know. It's Hollow Knight. I have nothing but very good things to say about it. It's very fair to say that I've not, I've not understood everything. There are some puzzles which have taken me a longer time. I need to sneeze. I'm just waiting for the moment. Sorry about that. Thank you. Now I've forgotten what I was talking about. Yeah, sorry. There's a couple of puzzles which is kind of stumbling around with not really knowing what to do much longer than I think a normal player would have taken. And then obviously we got through that little area where I felt like I had something. There's clearly more for me to do in that little house, but I couldn't necessarily figure out what the game was expecting of me. So there are still parts where I backtrack, but I think what's been really nice about Hollow Knight for me is that the game. All right, we're back to the Forgotten Crossroads. I feel like there's more for me to do in that area. Yeah, so it's not been a perfect string of progress, is what I'm trying to say. But I do generally like the fact that Hollow Knight, unlike some other game, and I think this is probably more a function of the fact that Hollow Knight is a very big game, and so it's they can sort of afford to have this happen. But I think the fact that there's lots of different areas that I can go through. So here I sort of had a mind to be going to one particular area, and as it turns out, I've actually wound up in this crystal area without any particular intention of doing so. But the game doesn't really seem to have wagged its finger at me saying, nope, you gotta go to this other side of the map. I've liked that. It's I've been able to sort of just run around and enjoy the experience on sort of my own terms. So, Johan, you got the question about the response for Cyberpunk's board. I think so I probably haven't heard this news. Oh, I've definitely haven't checked out these. Oh, damn it. Okay. Oh, I sabotaged myself. So sorry, I'm actually unaware of any statement from CDPR's board, or at least I think I'm unaware. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit? Because I think I'm out of the loop. Yeah, well, there's definitely been some points where I can't get past it. But as a whole, like, I think one of the things I can say is that the game's allowed me to have maybe a little bit of a taste in each area, and then it sort of says, like, okay, you gotta get something else before you can go further. Maybe that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, I definitely don't want to suggest that this game's given me complete freedom from the start, because I feel like that would be counter to what these games are largely about, or what the experience usually is. Okay, so these things may not be... I'm going to assume that I can't take them out. But yeah, I generally feel that the game has not been unfair in how it approaches it, let's say. Alright. Oh, that's so mean. You want a map? Well, you're gonna have to deal with this nonsense. Oh! Alright.
Make him noise, Gucci.
Come to scale the mountain? I've heard tale of a summit up the, way up there. Too far for me, though, and I'm not really one for heights. Oh, so was there a, I know there was a statement from the CEO. Is this different? And yeah, if they're blaming QA, they can go to hell. I mean, like, okay, so, you know, I don't want to talk about stuff that I haven't really... So I'm behind on the latest drama with CD Projekt Red, and one of the reasons for that is that my opinions of that company as a company have actually been pretty consistent for the last few years. It has not been a secret that that is not a good place to work. And there have been stories about dissatisfaction at CD Projekt Red for a fairly substantial time of Cyberpunk's development. More importantly, there have been statements from CD Projekt Red which effectively have been, we know that people are mad, but we really don't care because we know you don't care, the gamers. Now, I don't know if this is something that has changed over the development cycle for Cyberpunk, because honestly, I think the problems at CD Projekt Red were also true during the development of The Witcher 3. The thing is, though, that The Witcher 3 wound up being apparently a very good game. I've not played it personally. But it's a little bit like the idea of BioWare magic, right? You know, BioWare had a very successful track record, and apparently, at least for part of Andromeda, there was the feeling that it would all kind of come together at the end, or maybe it was Anthem. Anyways, there was a Kotaku article about it, and ultimately it never did. And clearly, if you believe in that, that is probably going to be true. I mean, that's the sort of thing where, like, that prediction is going to be true up until the day that it's not, and then you have absolutely no game plan for how you get out of it. So the thing is that now we know, right? We've seen the game. We've seen the company's responses to it. But a lot of this was very predictable, and a lot of what we are seeing in response is completely in line with the problems that got them here in the first place. So again, like I haven't seen the statement that you guys are talking about, but I guess the best I can say, at the risk of like trying to sound like some grizzled old veteran who, like, let's face it, my attachment to the games industry is I have 2 video game credits, 1 minor credit on something moderately big, and a more impressive credit on a very small game. I have been given a little bit of data to work on for a couple of very cool developers who are, who actually do know what they're talking about. But, and I stream. So suffice to say, I have lots of opinions, none of which is really backed up by experience or direct knowledge of what's going on. The best I can do is get a read on what's going on. I am blessed with the fact that I read a lot and that I try to keep a longer term perspective than, let's say, the previous year. So, that's sometimes helpful, particularly when people love to talk about the stock price going up or down, because that's a really uninteresting conversation most of the time. But like, I'll be honest with you, there's hearing all of this stuff about CD Projekt Red, acknowledging the fact that I haven't read the statement or watched the video. It's all just the same stuff that led to the situation they're in now. And there'll be future games that they make. I do get the impression that they are in some financial trouble. Not like, I don't think this studio's going to go bankrupt or anything like that, but I've noticed that they're really pushing very aggressively a lot of quote-unquote exclusive deals on GOG. I don't know if you guys have been getting this as well, but I really think they are trying to push alternative revenue streams, because I think one of the reasons why Cyberpunk was released, or at least the release date was announced when it was so that they can start bringing in some money off of pre-orders. So, speaking of the bigger credit on the small game, Valiant Cheese, how you doing? Sorry about that. I know I've been monologuing a lot, but I haven't seen a whole lot of. I haven't been reading chat as closely. But yeah, I don't know. Like, the thing is that there'll be future games. The thing is that I am not at all convinced that CD Projekt Red has learned the lessons that they need to. And more importantly, I'm not entirely sure that, quote unquote, the gamers are necessarily going to hold them to account in the way that they should. I think, like, there's a side of me that wants to be really smug about the fact that so many people who loved hating on EA now kind of have to eat crow, and how they're sort of having to make a whole bunch of exceptions for this thing. Like, remember back when everybody was like, oh, CD Projekt Red should get the Star Wars license, or like any property that you really liked. CD Projekt Red should have gotten the license because apparently they're the only ones who make good video games. I should be kind of satisfied about it, but like, I just don't think any developer should be harassed the way that they have been. I think the criticisms of CD Projekt Red have largely missed the point. And we're just not really going to see any improvements until people start like caring about the stuff that really, really matters. Anyways, co-founder of CD Projekt Red talking about how his and the board's decision to release the game as it is and are not to blame the developers. He also talks about how they'll be focusing on fixing the problem. So I might have read the statement that you were talking about after all, Johan. Each Witcher game trimmed out the core of OG devs. Valiant Cheese. So Valiant Cheese, by the way, Valiant Cheese, in addition to doing streaming, is a game developer himself and has probably worked on stuff that you like. So I would definitely say, while I'm running my mouth about this stuff, you should pay attention to him, because he actually makes a living doing this stuff. He says, this industry has so... And I will be getting back to Hollow Knight, but I do want to catch up with chat. This industry has so much churn, so the people who do the actual work are frequently not consistent from project to project. The industry also doesn't seem particularly interested in fostering worthwhile internal culture, so you don't know much about CDPR's churn rate specifically, though. I have a feeling... I mean, I know a lot of ex-people from CD Projekt Red, but they don't talk about their time there, so... Do you think those in gaming industry would benefit from having unions? So I have a weird perspective on unions, Johan. there are very few jobs that I've had that I haven't been a member of a union for. But I do also want to stress that when I was a member of a union in the film industry, it actually made it very hard for me to get into the industry. It did make it easier for me to get a certain job, and I was still working 18-hour days. So a lot of the stuff about crunch and like those kinds of factors, actually the union wound up sort of institutionalizing it, and I wound up doing a lot of work for free so that I could get my name out there and get into the union. So union isn't a one-size-fits all thing in terms of solving some of the issues for the games industry. But I also think to a certain extent, you know, it's a question that should be answered by the workers. So I'm the best thing I can say about the union thing is that it's probably more of a case-by-case thing. If the workers want a union, then they should probably have a union. But the other thing is that I think unions also haven't stopped some nasty stuff happening at Paradox with regards to their HR as well. So a union is one tool among many which can foster in a good workplace. But like I said, a union did not protect me in the film industry from having to work for guys that thought nothing about screaming at me in front of everybody on the set. For the most minor infractions. And they definitely didn't protect me from doing 18-hour days. They just made sure that I made a dump truck full of money on the 18-hour days. So unions are there to protect the workers from awful workplace environment. Yeah, so I mean, Night Valiant's kind of got the counterpoint to mine, but... CDPR games are always meh to me anyways. Cyberpunk is one of their more fun games. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have a major problem with Cyber. I found it diverting. Like, having now played the Elder Scrolls games, I kind of get what those types of RPGs are like. But I'll also admit, I really don't think that game sort of merited the game that was released. I did not feel merited the kind of attention and anticipation leading up to it. I thought it was a very... You know, I thought it was a perfectly reasonable game that was not, you know, that probably, like, there's just simply more interesting games that probably merited as much as much attention, if not more. Start spreading my manifesto stolen from Grim Fandango within video game companies. The workers in control means reduction. Oh yeah, it's not a problem, Night Valley. Like, I don't regret the time that I spent in film at all. I just kind of want to be clear that, particularly in creative industries, and if there is a particular model for making stuff, like the hours worked is still something that film industries have to work with. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna step away for a very brief second. I'm sorry I've been monologuing so much. I do want to get back to the game, but I did accidentally snuff out my candle, and I will be back. I'll be back in a quick second. Hades is really good. I streamed that before it got its full release, and I really wanted to get back to it, but there's so much. And Valiant Cheese, I kind of believe the suite of tools and approaches is the way to go. You can't just say, we have a union now, so everything will be fine. It doesn't need any further thought. Ever still needs to be put in multiple approaches working together to address problems and tends to come up with... Yeah, exactly, Valiant Cheese. I mean, the thing is, like, companies are run by people, unions are run by people. You can have very good unions run by good people, and I definitely feel that for a market to work properly, you need to have, you know, a relatively even division of power, and that's one of the things that a union can enable. But, you know, again, like, that involves work. You know, if you have a bunch of people leading the union who are incompetent, who are sort of, you know, more interested in their own advancement. Like, I have definitely seen union leaders who did nothing at all for the workers, and it just happened to be a really sweet gig for them. to make money, right? The sort of stuff that people always blame politicians about doing. So, and there are private companies which have done some really good. So here's a great example. Like when you think about like the 1% and billionaire, like I'm sure pretty much everybody has hedge fund managers on the top of their hate list, right? And you probably don't like I will get back to the game after this, by the way. You probably would put Renaissance Technologies at the top of that list because of one of its key figures, Robert Mercer, who is well known as a big figure in Republican circles, and Rebecca Mercer more so now. Now, Robert Mercer is an unimaginably intelligent guy. He also has some very strange beliefs about how the world works and how it should work. So Renaissance Technologies, if you've heard of it, is probably one of these things that is like right up at the top of your list of like tax evasion and the rich getting richer and isn't this also horrible? But the founder of Renaissance Technologies is a guy named Jim Simmons. He is also a billionaire, one of the wealthiest people. He has put a lot of money into math education. There's actually a magazine called, I think it's Quanta magazine. It's really good. It's lots of popular articles about advances in mathematics, computation, and so on and so forth. And it's not just that he's been doing a lot of philanthropy. He also happens to support a lot of democratic causes. So I suppose he's kind of like the other half of the equation in terms that he balances out the money that Mercer gives to Republican causes. But the philanthropy he's been doing is not just very good, but it's actually very targeted and specifically designed towards improving, like, there's the medicine and whatnot. I mean, that's kind of, billionaires, have their names attached to hospitals and things like that. But like when I take a look at the philanthropy, it's not just that they're good causes, but they're ones that really seem to be things that are designed to sort of create additional opportunities. Things like there's I think the software is called Maxima. No, Maxima is the free one. I can't remember. There's this like really sophisticated mathematical software. It's like pretty much used in a lot of in like all the top university departments. His foundation has paid for a copy for every US university. So I would love it if more billionaires were like Jim Simmons. So, again, you've got the two halves, right? You can have these incredible, self-dealing union leaders, and then you can have, philanthropists like Andrew Carnegie or Jim Simmons. Now, whether or not there should be billionaires, I know people won't necessarily like that. But as with everything, the label doesn't mean as much. It is more about the reality of, of the day-to-day operations and what specifically is happening to, to bring about the outcomes that you're looking for. You keep hearing, I'd love it if all billionaires were like Gene Simmons. Yeah. Anyways, sorry about the ranting. So some of you guys came here for Hollow Knight. So come to yes. I jabbed myself on one of those crystals back there, awful sharp, and they're all over the place. You'd best watch yourself if you're heading up. Yeah, I know Nightalian really likes the rants, so that was a little more of an egregious one, though. I do apologize. I'm guessing I'm gonna need something a little bit stronger to. We're gonna start a drinking games. Take a shot every time you apologize. Oh, you can't do that. Night Valian, you're gonna be dead within the first couple of minutes. All right, this is gonna be a boss fight. I know it. Oh, is it gonna make me? Yeah, it's gonna make me initiate it. All right, let's lose all our geo. I mean, I think they're justifiably mad about that. Okay. Too slow. I'm screwed. So unless there's a phase 2, I actually really shouldn't need to heal. I'll do it now because nope. It's just a waste of health the next time I do that. There we go. I'm glad I didn't just murder that guy for his bench. But yeah, I don't know. Like Night Alien, it's Canadian thing. I was told I didn't actually bother to do the homework on this, but apparently in Ontario there's a specific there's apparently some kind of legal standard which says that, like, I think I'm saying I'm sorry does not indicate any kind of culpability as far as some, you know, as far as, like, I don't know how it works in other jurisdictions, but apparently, like, the Canadian apology is enshrined in law in the sense of, like, you can't be, the fact that you said sorry for something doesn't put you on the hook as an admission of guilt. So that said, it would be kind of fun to see a drunk Night Valiant. I know Night Valiant usually starts his broadcast sort of, I guess, within the last hour or two of mine. So it would actually be kind of funny to see him just completely blackout drunk when I'm, you know, when I host him. Yeah, I do think it is really amusing that they're, I know some kind of legal standard exists to accommodate the Canadian tendency to apologize. I believe it is a provincial matter, not a federal one. But obviously, it is very amusing that our stereotype has has sort of established itself as some sort of legal. Yeah, I mean, I suspect to a certain extent it is so. Obviously, the implication is that if there isn't that kind of legal consideration, I don't know what I was thinking there. Too slow. I'll try the easy mode first. Oh, but it doesn't get me to the same spot. Did I already do this? But yeah, so again, I'm sure probably the circumstances are not as dire as the existence of that ruling might imply. Well, I don't even know what I thought I was doing there. Right. I think I'm just going to admit that I'm not very good at that sort of thing and get me some souls before I head back. I deserved that. That was less about the souls and more about me getting this thing open. Speaking of workers, yeah, I mean, this is as my you know, given my deep abiding love of capitalism, I'm all about the fact that this game lets me stick it to the workers this way. So maybe I haven't been at some of these spots. I don't remember this stuff. I don't know what I thought I was accomplishing. Like, the thing is, there's no benefit to rushing that other than bragging rights. Like, I'm not doing a speed run. So, I probably should have just... I mean, it's nice to have... It's nice to have this thing. I think this thing exists specifically for the region I was just in. You know, the funny thing is, one of the local developers here pointed out that I actually do, like, I have a lot of political game ideas. Pretty much all of my game ideas, whenever I've talked to them, have always been political, but they're always the boring parts of politics. It's like never this stuff that we wind up talking about, and it's always more about just the administrative work of the government. My brain did something very different than what my hands did. But pretty much. Why? For some reason, I just lose my head when it comes to that second one. I got very lucky on that one. Alright, we're getting some more health. Yeah, I actually played some of Orwell on stream. I'd like to get back to it if I could. But this is the problem when... So, hopefully people are kind of getting an idea of why I ask questions like, do you guys want me to focus on Hollow Knight? Or are you okay with a more variety approach? You know, to a certain extent, it's my channel, right? Like, obviously I need to be making those decisions for myself, but it means that every time someone... you know, says so like every time somebody says, you know, oh, you'd really like game X, focusing on a big game like this means that I'm much less likely to play those smaller interesting games, and not even because I dislike them or because I don't think they'd be a good fit. It just happens to be that there's only so much time to cover so many games. Well, I didn't finish it, so I'll probably start it again from the beginning at some point. Obviously, while we're on the topic of Orwell, I know there's an adaptation of Animal Farm that was recently done, but I don't know. I don't know if it was anyone like I don't know whether or not it was. Well, presumably it was good, but I didn't play it, so I don't have that much of an opinion on it. Yeah, no worries. I mean, it is also available on Epic if you guys want to use the affiliate link, but I believe it is available on both Steam and Epic, so you can buy it on the storefront of your choosing. Oh, this is an interesting question. Can I farm souls by... Ah, this is interesting. I bet you haven't. No, I can say for sure that I did not buy the Animal Farm game. I really like the book, but I mean, I've got... So there's two Orwell games, and I believe both, at least one of them is available on EA Play Pro. I'm so bad at this stuff. See? Now I'm just sabotaging myself. Yeah, I mean, certainly the talent attached to it indicates good things, but I suppose, as with anything, like, you know, this, I suppose one interesting question about that game would be, what is the value of adapting a literary work into a game? In one sense, I can think that there's a lot of value in it, because, as with anything, first of all, there's a lot of very good stories from literature which we can benefit from. Obviously, Hollywood's been doing that for a while. I don't know why I decided to come back to the well for this guy, but I hesitated. Sabotage. But yeah, so like Hollywood has been doing this for a while. You know, there's lots of, and I mean, if you think about even outside of Hollywood, Akira Kurosawa, a lot of his best known works are sort of samurai adaptations of Shakespeare. And so again, being able to look at these great works with fresh eyes has been a very reliable way of producing some very, very high quality work. But on the other hand, the other complaint that we have right now are things like, well, there's too many Marvel movies. Well, you know, the Marvel movies are adaptations too. And so, you know, it's very common to say, and not without some justification, that Hollywood is sort of out of ideas, and that its tendency to adapt is an indicator of that. And certainly well, I think probably most people would be hard-pressed to say games, particularly in the indie space, are, short on good ideas. I think there is a worry that, if you're gonna take the time to make a game and tell a particular interactive story, you may want to ask the question, why this particular one? Thank goodness. Yeah, for sure. And I don't think that's what you were gonna say too. I don't think that's what you were saying at all, Cheese. But it's interesting. I mean, in the end, right? If you decide to make any game, you are making a particular choice about a certain story to tell, I mean, sometimes there's lots of financial incentives to tell certain stories. Presumably Hand of Fate 2 exists because there was enough support for Hand of Fate 1 that it was worth doing, and that there was more of that experience to go. Hand of Fate 2 is a really wonderful game, so it's easy to see why we should see a sequel. I don't think it means that Defiant was out of ideas when they did Hand of Fate, but I'm sure everyone working at Defiant had ideas of other games that could have been made, and obviously at some point somebody has to make a decision in terms of which of these experiences is going to get the time and money to become a reality. I'd like to agree with that, Valiant Cheese. The only challenge is that I've also seen a lot of really crappy indie films. The only thing is that with independent films, you usually don't hear about them because they vanish without a trace. I've worked on a lot of... So, I'd love to see Canadian film do a lot better. But I remember very specifically working on these films. There's actually... Funny thing about this particular movie, there was one line of dialogue which I thought was actually really good. Everything else about it was really terrible. Also, they decided to try and pay us in shares of the movie. I was like, just tell me you're not paying me. This is something for my resume. I got to meet some cool people who actually didn't wind up giving me work after the fact. Shares in the movie, get real. Even if that movie made any money, it was pretty clear that that person was not gonna. There's always the funny accounting that you can do to make it look like a movie didn't make any money. But there was this one really good line of dialogue. It's kind of, this was the product of, I think this particular director or writer-director had seen a lot of sort of 90s, 2000s independent films and wanted to sort of make their own version of that. Cursed are those who turn against the king. And so, you've got I think it was called 22 Hands. And, you got a couple of guys who are in this hotel room and they got a suitcase full of money that they've stolen through some, terrible deed or whatever. And when they open up the case, one of the characters is you can actually smell it. You can smell the money. I was like, actually, that's a pretty good line. Especially, I think there's just something about being able to engage the other senses in the writing. But everything else about it was really derivative and just not worth it at all. And the thing is that this was a Canadian film. This was in Vancouver. This was everybody who was working on the thing was a Canadian. And essentially all that we were doing was recycling sort of the Miramax leftovers. And there were some that were, maybe a little bit better. But the fact of the matter is a lot of the independent films that I've worked on really wish that they could be Hollywood stuff and ultimately couldn't. So... But on the other hand, Hollywood has produced, at the top of the industry, has actually produced some really good work. Some of, I think some of the best movies I've ever watched have been ones that have come out of the Hollywood studio system. So, it's a hard judgment to make, right? Like, I really like Titanfall. Titanfall's a very conventional big budget kind of experience by a team that's largely responsible for the types of first person shooters we see now, right? Respawn, I think, came out of a bunch of disputes with Activision over the Call of Duty series. It's a really good game. But on the other hand, as much as I like the Assassin's Creed games, I really don't feel like they respect my time. And I can probably do without playing every entry on it. So Nivelian sees the rant coming. Shares in the movie did well for Harris. This true, very true. I feel like the same could be said for independent games. The idea of indie games existing is more mindshare, but individually, most indie games typically never get heard of outside of people who specifically. Yeah, exactly. So, hi at Legion Knights. So yeah, it's a tough one. Like, I think it's kind of like anything. If you judge a genre, if you can call indie games and indie films a genre, I really don't think that. I mean, the thing is that you kind of have an idea of what sort of experience you're talking about when you say indie game or indie film, but I'm not entirely sure it really tells you anything about the type of story that you're going to run into. So I don't want to call it a genre, but for the purposes of discussion, when someone says indie game, everybody has a pretty clear idea in their head about what's being talked about. So, there's a side of me that really wants to be like super pro indie and kind of talk about how bankrupt all of the really established stuff is. But I do need to admit, like, even when I think about what EA is doing with the EA Originals program, A Way Out was great. Sea of Solitude was really good. I'm enjoying Fee. I'm playing Fee on my own time. EA is not taking any money out of that. They're recouping their costs, but from what I understand, all of the money from those games is going to those developers. And I think that kind of stuff is what I'm most excited for in terms of gaming, because it's allowing these stories that may not have otherwise been heard in sort of a from a bigger company like EA. They're getting sort of the financial resources to sort of produce this vision, but they still sort of have the elements that I think people are really attracted to for these kinds of games. So, of course, there's a big spread between. I mean the same. I could probably say the same too in terms of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And even Titanfall too. I mean, those aren't, those are games that are primarily driven by shooting. But both are AAA games, and I would say that there's very little overlap between the two. To protect the vessel, the dreamers lay sleeping. Monomon the teacher, in her archive surrounded by fog and mist. Lurien the watcher, in his spire looking over the city. Hera the beast, in her den amidst the deep darkness beyond the kingdom. Through their devotion, Hollow Nest lasts eternal. So I'm pretty sure Hera the beast is the sleeper that we found. Dreamer locations added to map. Go no further, little shadow. What compels its climb out of the darkness? What compels its return to this sacred kingdom? A call from beyond the seals, by the vessel or by that captive light. Would the seals break? They cannot be undone. But the vessel weakens, the plague springs anew, they must be undone. Yet our seals remain, our duty holds. It must be cast away. Our duty holds, it shall be done. Fade away, little shadow, fade away and let us sleep in peace. Put me on a platform I can't escape. that's the end of the game. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been a lot of fun. No. I was scared for a moment that I was recording. I've been recording a lot of videos lately. So I took a quick look over at the OBS markers and I thought for a horrifying moment that I was recording instead of streaming, and then I was like, wait a minute, if that was true, why why am I, you know, why am I able to interact with chat? But yeah, it's, I mean, I'm trying not to come off as being like completely stupid in terms of like not knowing what certain labels mean. What I'm trying to say though is that, you know, it's very clear with something like EA Originals that these are things with an EA aesthetic, or sorry, with an indie aesthetic that is actually a product of a major publisher. And of course you've got indie games. Now, this is harder to do, of course, just because it's, you know, it's, there. I mean, you feel the effects of the limited resources a lot more acutely in games than in films, I sort of feel. Just a personal observation. But, you know, there can still be things which obviously really wish that they were AAA games, and aren't maybe taking advantage of what some of the things we like about indies are. So, you know, Hades is an indie title and it's really great. And, you know, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, you know, indie title, also really great. But I also could tell you, like, you know, if you go to itch.io and pick a random game, you might find something you really enjoy. Supply Chain is brilliant, I'm told. But, you know, or Hive Time is the one you should probably check out. It's a pay-what-you-want one. But, you know, there's also going to be stuff on there which, like, just doesn't make any sense and isn't quite your cup of tea. And it's good that we still have that stuff. But it's, you know, sometimes when the discussions are happening in terms of talking about, you know, indie versus AAA, it's always helpful to sort of try and delineate exactly why the distinctions are being made. And again, I'd love to root for the little guy in that, but I'll be honest with you. I think especially because, you know, I'm playing Hollow Knight, which is a really well done indie game. I think one thing that is maybe worth remembering is that some of the indies we really love are coming out of people who've gained a lot of experience working for larger publishers and larger studios. And I think there is something to be said about the experience that they take away from that. And I do feel like gaming, quality-wise as a whole, I sort of feel like the upper end is actually a lot better than we sometimes give it credit for, especially when you compare it to some of the stuff that's happened in other forms. Like, there have definitely been some times in Hollywood where there's like nothing worth your time. And it's not just a question of like evaluating things by their worst examples. It's just like, it really does feel like there is a drought. And I'm not quite sure if we're at that point with games. You say it's just a published game. Mavis Field's novel because there's such a tendency for big publishers to just acquire studios. I mean, maybe. What are my opinions of Studio Ghibli movies? I've enjoyed every single one that I've seen. I've seen Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke, but I don't remember that well. I'm actually getting better at giving the English titles because I had some friends from Japan in Vancouver, and they were the ones to show me most of the Studio Ghibli stuff. And I unfortunately it was like all the Japanese titles. So I think it was like Sen no Toshiro Shikamikashi is one of them, and Mononoke Hime. I'm probably pronouncing it all wrong, but it was really hard to talk to people about the movies because I'd have the English subtitles. They were kind enough to turn those on for me, but I didn't know the real names. So, or sorry, not the real names, but the familiar names, let's say. But no, I think they're wonderful. I think animation's actually really. I love animation overall. I think Sergei Eisenstein, the Soviet filmmaker and theorist, I think one of his favorite movies was Snow White, actually, because he felt that animation allowed people to convey their ideas a lot more effectively in terms of film. I think there's some sort of confirmation survivor bias regarding indie games as well. Yeah, I also think that's true for larger scale development as well, because larger scale development wants to make sure that it gets its returns. What a terrible fate they visited upon you, to cast you away into the space between body and soul. Will you accept their judgment and fade slowly away? Or will you take the weapon before you and cut your way out of this sad, forgotten dream? Is this a dagger I see before me? I've taken the dream nail. Sorry, just 1 second. Alright, hold D to charge and slash with the nail, cut through the veil between dreams and waking. It's really interesting. Oh, let me, you've returned. Welcome back to the waking world. Those figures, those dreamers, they reached out with what little power they still have and dragged you into that hidden place. But that talisman you now wield, the dream nail, it can cut through the veil that separates the waking world from our dreams. Even the dreamers themselves cannot hide from such a weapon. Though I must admit that sacred blade has dulled over time. Together, perhaps, we can restore its power. You only have to bring me essence. Essence, the precious fragments of light that dreams are made of. Collect it wherever you find it and bring it to me. Once we have enough, we can work wonders together. Go out into the world, wielder. Hunt down the essence that lingers there. Collect 100 essence and return to me. I will teach you more. You are still unpracticed in the way of dreams. Collect 100 essence with the dream nail. Visit me again, and I will share what little wisdom I have. Essence can be found wherever dreams take root. Have you seen them? Those whispering plants that grow all over the old kingdom? I believe there is one just outside. Why not strike it with your dream nail and see what happens? It's funny you mentioned Prince of Egypt. I actually think Terry Gilliam had like nothing but mean things to say about Prince of Egypt. I think one example of... I think the last big sort of 2D Disney film was The Princess and the Frog, I think? Oh, these things! Far out, man! Oh, was it Treasure Planet? But there was a project that wanted to sort of capture the idea of, what would animation look like if if Pixar hadn't come along. What would kind of animated movies today look like if there hadn't been sort of the emphasis on 3D? And I believe that movie was called Klaus. And there were a few different changes. So I think the voice cast was completely changed. And I think it eventually wound up being... All right, something changed in this place. I think it wound up becoming a Netflix show. But there's some very impressive animation there. I think a lot of people think that it might be 3D 3D animation that's Dead Remembered, Penitent Moth, Dreams Revered. I haven't seen Klaus, sadly. I don't have Netflix, but... I believe it is about Santa, yes. But... It was... your wife watched it recently, a few weeks... Oh, hi, by the way, Pat. Sorry, you said... you've been in chat before. Thank you very much for your messages on YouTube. I really appreciate them. It's good to see you again. Klaus' animation and art style is so beautiful and cozy. Definitely recommend it for everyone to watch it. And something big just dropped. Sorry, give me a second here. Ah, damn it. Sorry, I have a small mess to clean up. Hope you guys like the voice acting. Wielder, you've returned. Let me have a look at the dream nail. You're still unpracticed in the way of dreams. Collect 100 essence with the dream nail. Visit me again, and I will share what little wisdom I have. Sometimes dreams take the shape of those who have passed away. Such dreams are bountiful sources of essence. You should search carefully near graves and other monuments. I believe I saw an interesting gravestone here in Resting Grounds. If you do decide to disturb those dreams, though, prepare for a fight. Dream shield, eh? Protect yourself. You are our last. I was promised a fight, damn it. Merely more. Sorry I missed you. If you're feeling lost, why not pop up to our store in Dirtmouth and purchase a map of the area. Available now at an excellent price. I don't think I've even had a chance to run into this guy. Many stag stations have been opened. Again, I could travel the breadth of the kingdom. So many grand thoroughfares and old sideways I'd forgotten. Somewhere amongst the lines lies the Stag Nest, the place where I was born and raised. I'd thought its location lost to my failing mind, but now I can almost remember the path. If you keep opening stag stations and beckoning me through them, perhaps I'll find that nest. I would like that very much. The resting grounds. Passengers would come here to conduct rituals for those who had passed on. Not anymore, though. Perhaps the dead conduct their own rituals now? So basically, this is the shining part of the game. Eager to travel the stagways? Just hop on that platform, give me the signal, and we'll soon be on our way. So, I get this feeling for a lot of games, but one thing that I think would be really interesting, you know, whether it's a game or a story, whenever I see stuff like this, I always kind of imagine finding out the story about... So, like, obviously all of these different pathways are closed, and you can kind of imagine what the decay of this kingdom would look like. You know, you've got, you know, the place at the height of its power, and then as time goes by, certain parts... You know, there's the decision to finally close the Stagway. You know, there's that final time that the pathway goes through, and sort of over the course of time, you know, passages keep getting closed, and then there's the story. You know, presumably the story you tell would be the story of the person and the circumstances under which that last passage is closed. One game that I think actually did this quite well was Frostpunk. So, which Night Valiant did a wonderful job of. So in Frostpunk, you've got the first story, A New Home, and one of the big moments in it is the discovery of what happened to one of the previous settlements. And one of the DLC that they released for the game, or it might have even been a free update for all that I know, was basically the moments leading up to the abandoning of that particular colony. And I think, you know, to a certain extent, Frostpunk's done a really good job of extending the story both ways. So there's even the what was the world like before the Ice Age came, as well as, you know, the city you founded and helped survive has kind of made its own colony now, and you're responsible for it. I think that's the most recent one. But Night Valiant's dictatorship was the best. But again, this kind of comes back to, the question, which is, if you're going to make a game, if you're going to dedicate the resources towards producing, producing something that requires a lot of time and money, what story do you tell? And obviously, in this case, Team Cherry had both the interest, both of their audience and in terms of their own work, to continue telling the story of Hollow Knight. But I don't know the story of Hollow Knight well enough to know whether or not Silk Song is a follow-up or a prequel. And I've been wanting to focus more on the game, but have you seen some of Boonju Ho's work? I don't think so. What would some of the things they've released been? Right, we've heard this from Elderbug before. I don't think there's going to be anything else for me in these other areas, but we can take a look. Wee, 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 wee.
Bapanada.
Map of the Resting Grounds, a sacred place not far from the crossroads. Cornifer told me that he found the area serene and calming, but it sounds a bit spooky to me. No thanks. Whispering Root Pin. Cornifer has been telling me about these strange whispering roots he's been seeing. I made some pins so that you can record their locations yourself. Warrior's Grave Pin. Cornifer told me that he's found some interesting looking graves and shrines in the depths. You can use these pins to mark down any interesting graves on your map. Go and pay your respects. So I think it's fair to say I don't really need the geo right now, so I should probably have done this before, but seeing as I've got the bench nearby, let's change the loadout a bit. Contains the gratitude of free grubs gain soul when taking down. Oh, that would be a good one. Dream Shield. Defensive charm once wielded by a tribe that could shape dreams. Conjures a shield that follows the bearer and attempts to protect them. Fragile Strength strengthens the bearer, increasing the damage they deal to enemies with their nail. This charm is fragile and will break if its bearer is killed. Cause the barrier to find more geo when defeating enemies. Charm is fragile and will break when the bearer is killed, and Fragile Heart increases the health, allowing them to take more damage. All right, you know what? I'm actually going to try the grub song here. Snowpiercer's mother, the right. I haven't. I think Snowpiercer was the subject of an article I was really interested in. And then the host. Yeah, so no, I'm not familiar. The real shame is I used to kind of like be able to say somewhat credibly I'd sort of seen everything, but I've actually fallen out of. I've sort of fallen out of out of touch. So there's definitely a very large backlog. So no, I haven't seen any of that. This place, we near the surface, I believe. There's a town here. You should take the opportunity to rest. This place was once full of travelers coming and going. It seems much quieter now. Parasite was the Best Picture winner, wasn't it? The name sounded familiar, but now that you're talking about the host, I know who you're talking about. All right, let's see what else we've got in the distant village. I really do apologize. Sorry, Night Valian's gonna have to take a drink now. I do apologize for those of you. I know it's not the first time I've been a little talky during a stream like this, but I do feel this particular time I've maybe spent a little bit more time standing and talking about stuff that's not directly relevant. But I do still appreciate the fact that everybody still comes by and participates in the chat. Hopefully I still do a decent enough job of being able to talk about enough diverse topics that people don't feel too left out in terms of the discussions. I know we can't promise to be... Oh, that's right, I gotta find souls. I feel like this is just asking for trouble, but... Protect the vessel, the dreamers lay sleeping. Okay, we've done all this. I was doing an art stream yesterday where you took like 40 minutes interlude to waffle about game monetization strategies. There's this article I was reading the other day about this guy who released a game as like pay what you want, and like they obviously would have made so much more money if they made people pay the game, because like obvious, how much would they have made? Well, more than they got, I think. Sorry, that's like that joke has really worn itself out. For those of you who don't know, Valiant Cheese, actually, if you'd like to put a link to the article, you can. Valiant Cheese put out this article on releasing a pay what you want game. So for those of you who are maybe newer to the stream, I streamed Valiant Cheese's very good city builder called Hive Time, and actually there's been an update to it which has added some Twitch chat integration. So I've been meaning to properly sit down and do a little, hey, let's look at this cool new feature thing. But I know also there's been a lot of people asking me to do a lot of certain things, so I'm a bit behind. But yeah, one of the things that's nice about that, and I'll actually also give Kitfox Games some credit for doing this as well. So Kitfox Games gave me access to their full Steam sales data for 3 of their games: Moon Hunters, the Shrouded Isle, and Fit for a King. And basically I was able to do a bunch of calculations in terms of sort of the value of a wish list, which for those of you maybe outside of indie development circles, there's been a lot of writing about wish lists and how important they are, or some sort of counterpoints of saying that wish lists are overstated in terms of their value. Hey, Johnny Big Time, great to see you again. Let me, I'll get a shout out of the way. I'll do a little bit of gameplay and then actually tell you why Johnny's worth watching. Anyways, Valiant Cheese, in a very similar spirit, has done a really detailed breakdown of his decision to make Hive Time a pay-what-you-want game. And, you know, he kind of talks about how his financial circumstances were at a point where he could afford to make such a decision, and just generally what the experience was like to release. I thought it was worthwhile because obviously we're not going to be able to get some information in terms of how viable or what our expectations should be about these types of games or these types of release strategies if people don't take the time to try them and report on the results. And there was a discussion going on in a discussion forum about itch as a viable platform for releases. And I sort of I put a link to that article saying, you know, this is a little bit beside the point of the overall discussion because it's about a pay what you want game. But, you know, given that it's a game that's pay what you want, this might at least establish some bounds of what you think, you know, what you should maybe expect in terms of the results. And the spirit of that comment was kind of ignored by one of the participants, who then sort of put this somewhat lengthy paragraph of, you know, well, you know, they should have just charged for the game. I bet they would have made more money if they did that. And it's like, well, like that's kind of that's kind of against their intentions that were stated in the article. But what I didn't realize was that Cheese was in the very same discussion forum. They were a lot kinder than I was to the participants, sort of explaining what the intentions were. Anyways, actually, sorry, to the benefit of, so that Cheese's point of view can be heard as well. It's only one narrative, but it helps give another perspective to normalize discussion of these things, which is, then that's super worthwhile, I think. If we're judging these moon landings as Mars missions, they're all failures. Very true. And then, the original thing Valiant Cheese was... So anyways, yeah, so obviously every time Cheese is in the chat, I'll remind him of how, obviously, if he wanted to make some money, he should have just charged for his game, which technically he did. He just said what price you can get it at. Apparently what provoked the discussion on his channel was someone had said that the game that was released in 2013 was a game that had been abandoned because the developers stopped adding new content a few years back, which is a shame. You know, I'm pretty sure Starbucks has not been abandoned because I don't work there anymore. Johnny, have you played this game? I kind of feel like that Dream Sword should do something, seeing as they push on. Why do you hate indie games, Johnny? All right, so Johnny Big Time's in the channel. Johnny's sort of been trying to work out his schedule a little bit more, but he did a secret stream the other day, which I had a lot of fun watching. Starbucks died the day you left, yeah. I think this is just going to give me the same dialogue as before. Did I read the sword description? I thought I did, but... Sharpened nail. Dream nail allows the wielder to cut through the veil between dreams and waking, can be used to reveal hidden dreams or open gateways. The dream nail can collect essence, remnants of wishes and dreams. And it's kind of the same as what the person told me, but... The way you view things, 5+ years of post-release content development so far in the opposite direction of abandonment that is comical. Yeah, well, I mean, like, how lucky are we at a point where we can consider, you know, even someone just releasing a complete product to be abandonment? Like, that's kind of rich, by any stretch of the imagination. Wait, I've already been here. I'm assuming, like, so the way I'm taking this nail is that, like, when it comes to the secret passages and stuff like that, I'm not supposed to just be hitting random things. I mean, for some games, it does seem like there is... Actually, now that I think of it, it was Cheese who was talking... Oh, I didn't check this one out. This is what I was looking for. Why don't you let me... There we go. How you doing, Uncle Cranky? How is Mass Effect? I really liked Endless Space for a while, and there was one expansion that they released. There's one expansion that they released and a whole lot of sort of free post-release content, and it largely did seem to be getting... I'm learning. I also thought I saw one of the... There we go. The sound design does a really good job of kind of giving you a hint about those areas, too. Sorry, I will get back to talking about Johnny Big Time. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place in terms of topics now, but... Run for your lives! Oh, I dodged the one, but not the other. What is wrong with me? I gave up my my helpful little flying buddies. Adept is a real big departure from what you got used to as a bank. Yeah, everything. I mean, this game is a very just... Again, I think probably the environments are one of these things that you would expect to be very well realized because of... I mean, you spend so much time exploring the game, but just little details in terms of how everything feels, how everything looks. There's a tremendous amount of character in this, which I really appreciate. That's kind of neat that they block the screen off for you, so it's really easy to overlook the passageway here. It's sneaky. All right, before I let things get too stale, but yes, Johnny Big Time has been working on his schedule a little bit, but it's a delightful sort of surprise stream, test stream. But what are you planning on playing? Now, I think Johnny has been talking about playing Ghost of Tsushima some more. I think he thinks Skyrim is the best game ever, so I'll probably be doing a lot of that. But yeah, what are you planning on streaming, Johnny, and when? Soul Eater, eh? Let me rest. No! Wanderer's Journal. I should read the Entombed Husk, otherwise I'm going to forget it. Mummified remains deformed and enraged by infection. Oh, here we go. A journal left behind by a long-dead traveler. The words are written in a forgotten dialect and difficult to understand. Relic from Hollow Nest's past. This item now holds little value except those dedicated to the kingdom's memory, or kingdom's history. Official seal from the Kingdom of Hollow Nest, symbolizing the authority of the knights and kings. Relic from Hollow Nest past. This item now holds little value. Okay. And King's Idol. Right idol depicting the King of Hollow Nest. The elusive king was worshipped through these idols. You've been playing Ghost of Tsushima for 39 months. You want to finish that, then Battlefield 5 story mode, and then Breath of the Wild or something else. I'm not sure of the schedule yet. So dark. So it's funny. It's been telling me to get ready to defend myself when I whack stuff with the Dream Sword, but it hasn't actually delivered on that threat yet. I deserved that. Anyways, Johnny, I can actually give you I can make you feel very secure in the knowledge that this is one of the games which has a reputation for being OMG best game ever, and is actually kind of delivering on that promise. Okay, that squeaking noise I'm hearing are the blowing up creatures. I must be prepared. I'm going to test something here, so I think this is a... Okay. Run for your lives! There we go. Ah! Another Hollow Nest seal. Alright, I was expecting a little bit more, but... Wow! I wasn't expecting that. Okay, fair. Sacre bleu! I'm bad. This is one of these cases where you think he's like a boss, but he's actually just kind of like the Capra Demon. Well, there's no tricking him. You know, the real shame is somebody was saying, I think last stream, it's like, oh, you know, you do a pretty good job of talking and playing the game. And I've very much not been doing that. Stop there. Those who try to leave the kingdom are cursed. Better to rest here until time itself sleeps. Hope and freedom. I thought that strength alone could grant me these things. In my dreams, I would cut the plague with my nails, and then I turned my weapons upon the king. When I awoke in this sacred place, I began to understand those who hope are already doomed. Do you still hope, Wanderer? Will you flee, or will you raise your weapon and doom us both? Bring it. I'm sorry! Okay, they're definitely picking up the pace on the attacks. Uncle Cranky, can I get my boomerang won't come back in chat, please? Sorry. Oh, come on! The battle will not complete until there are 8 swords in the air. I can do this too. Sword puff! God damn it! Okay, I'm gonna stop goofing around. Oh! Okay, now I gotta... I only needed one more hit. This guy will be blotted out by our nails. I can see it now. Those who turn against the king are doomed as soon as they raise their weapon. Do not call me a traitor. Simply call me a fool. I know you will not flee. Wherever you go, I will be watching. Cursor those... I want more souls. All right. So they wanted 100 souls. That didn't feel like an overwhelmingly difficult boss, but I don't know if... yeah. I don't know if there's a consensus view on the relative difficulty of certain bosses. That's a neat fight. Like, I actually really like how the flying daggers work partway through, but I obviously kind of, I don't know, I lost my senses partway through. I was a little worried when my health got down to one pip. Oh, right, there should be something to charge my... Nope, not enough to heal, though. There's a bench nearby. That's a note from Cornfur. So I missed you. If you're feeling lost, why not pop up to our store in Dirtmouth and purchase a map of this area. Available now for an excellent price. El Canoe! Sacre bleu! Without a dash. Ladies and gentlemen, El Canoe. It's been a while since I've participated in his chat. Partly because of work stuff, but Elkanu is a very talented French streamer, and this story is getting kind of old, but I'm certainly not going to turn down a chance to tell it. Elkanu was someone. Actually, this is an Australian developer too, so we've got so Uncle Cranky is a New Zealander who is originally from Australia. We've got Valiant Cheese, who is a game developer in Tasmania. Actually, you may like this game because of its Twitch integration, Elkanu. Hive Time, which is a pay-what-you-want independent game. It's a city builder, sort of like SimCity, but you take a bee colony. Anyways, I think it's level 5 games. Anyways, the team that made Satellite Rain, and I was on the fence about buying that particular game, and all of the English streamers were actually very passive in their playthrough. They didn't talk a whole lot, and they made the game look kind of boring. But one of my other secrets is that I try to learn French. It's actually, sorry, I should be saying, what is it? Bienvenue, Canoes. Je parle petit français. Désolé. Merci. Pour visite mon... I don't know how to say stream. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. I should actually be trying. I've been getting a little bit more disciplined in terms of merci, Avia. Bonsoir. Thank you very much. It is very late for all of you, so I'm not gonna feel bad at all for those of you that need to go to bed. But yes, I am an English-speaking streamer. Elkanu is very good at encouraging me to use French in his channel, but does address some of my comments in English when it's difficult for when it's difficult stuff. The problem. The big problem that I run into is that the stuff that I want to talk about usually isn't covered in French lessons. I don't talk about food a whole lot, but if you want to learn the partitive article, food's very good for this. But this should be about Elkanu. Elkanu is a talented French streamer. He really showed me what was interesting about Satellite Rain. He also has a real gift for sort of, I'd almost say physical comedy, so it's really enjoyable to be able to watch his stuff when, basically to be able to watch his stuff when he is... even if you don't necessarily understand French. And I think lately he's been playing Wasteland 3. I know a lot of you guys really like those CRPG-style games, so now would not be a bad time to check out Elkanu, whether you want to learn a little bit of French and just kind of absorb it like I do, or whether you'd like to just sort of see a lot of interesting games, particularly indie games, but not exclusively, be played. Elkanu is definitely a really talented, very fun caster to watch, regardless of your language background. But for someone like me who is trying to learn French, and maybe French that is relevant to things that are, that are things that I'm interested in, it's nice to have people like Elkanu who are both entertaining, but are they're speaking something that's not English. Obviously, the potential audience for games is more than just English speakers, and so he's a very strong recommend for a number of those reasons. Do you really use words rendezvous, or just to be cool and not use date? Oh, I've never used rendezvous in terms of a date. I mean, I've used it in the context of French. No, I've said rendezvous. I've never actually used rendezvous in terms of like a romantic setting, though. I know some people do, but I don't think. I mean, maybe you're asking the wrong one, because like despite my obvious good looks and many desirable traits, I'm not. I don't exactly have the most elaborate dating history, so yeah. Although I do find it interesting how many English words, or fancy terms, are French. So, for instance, you know, I live. Okay, so I actually live in an apartment, but you know, what do normal people live in? Well, sometimes they'll live in a house. What does a rich person live in? They live in a mansion or maison. You know, I guess in the case of movies, cinema, I don't know, cinema just seems to be the fancy version of movies. You know, you might watch a Marvel movie in the movie theater, but if you're gonna watch something like Ingmar Bergman, you're gonna watch it in the cinema. Sorry, Jean-Luc Godard, you'll watch in the cinema. Is that really the best French filmmaker I could have come up with? Nah, this is better. Lumiere brothers. There's a deep cut for you. Yeah. The fancy versions of English terms are all borrowed from French, and presumably it's because of the Norman conquests. Oh, that's right, entrees. Yeah. Wielder, you've returned. Let me have a look at that dream nail. Already you've collected 100 essence. Quick work. Things come naturally to you, don't they? No wonder the dreamers tried to bury you in that old dream. Perhaps you frightened them, or perhaps, being prisoners themselves, they desired your company. In any case, you still have a long way to go. Take this old trinket as encouragement from me, and return when you've collected 200 essence. Okay, this is like a Christmas story. It's like, be sure to drink your Ovaltine version of this. Like, oh, something cool is going to happen when I get 100 souls. Nope. They're just going to give you another seal. Does it really mean made in the U.S.? How do you even arrive at that? Good question. I don't know. I don't eat at a lot of places which have like white napkins on their wrists, so I'm not as familiar with some of the dining lingo. Frankly, I'm happy if I get a hot dog. I'm like, you guys understood that, like Americans. Yeah, I mean, Elkanoo was in the States for a while and ran for their lives, sensibly so. I hope things are treating you well in France, by the way. Elkanoo, I know it's been a while. I kind of feel like since you've done that move, well, I mean, it makes sense since you've done that move, because obviously I don't have as, the hours are a little bit different, but I feel like I don't give you as much time as I used to with your... since you moved back, so you ran right onto, yeah, well, hopefully things will be getting a bit better, but I know what your concerns were, and certainly you definitely seem to pick the right time. Now I have a feeling I'm gonna drown if I go into the blue lake. Nope. Okay. Now I'm worried that I was able to swim in all of those other cases. Hey, no problem, Avio. I mean, here's the thing. I really appreciate Elkanoo being able to host, but I also sort of know that to a certain extent, Elkanoo's kind of missing out on the opportunity to get his brand out among a lot of streams that probably are more in line with his audience. I really appreciate how many of you from Elkanoo's channel stick around, and I get a chance to meet and run into to a lot of, I get a chance to run into a lot of you whenever I'm watching Elkanoo. But the fact of the matter is, not all of you speak English. Some of you would like the experience of hearing a broadcast in your native language. All of this is perfectly reasonable. Like I primarily watch English streams, so it's not lost on me that there's you know, there's definitely a great kindness being done in terms of getting the attention from you good folks. Yeah, no, that's not a worry at all. You know, it's been a kind of a lean time for the stream anyway, so I've just kind of accepted that there's been a bit of a turning over. I think some people like my old stuff and either have moved on or there's something else that's caught their eye. I never find it a big problem when people unfollow, because it's just a number, right? Like it's a nice chance. It's nice to get my name out there. It's nice to have people check out my stuff. But I don't take it personally if someone unfollows. So. Yeah, thank you, Elkin. I'm actually going to do some more YouTube videos along those lines to hopefully give people something to fall asleep to, because I've heard that on a few videos. Ooh, you surprised me. Hello, hello. Come in, sweetling. Come in and make yourself at home. I'm Salubra, and this is my cozy little charm store. Did the townsfolk out there tell you to come and visit me? Yes, this is a lovely little village, isn't it? Warm and intimate and full of life. What were we talking about? Oh yes, charms! I can see you've started on your own collection. Very nice. I'll show you some of my own, and you can take one home with you if you like. I might as well just pick everything up here. These don't seem too expensive. So we've got the lifeblood heart. Have you ever drunk that bright blue liquid lifeblood? It's a bit of a taboo, but it makes you feel much healthier, doesn't it? This charm seeps lifeblood and will certainly improve your constitution. That nail you wield is adorable, but if you sometimes feel like it could. But do you sometimes feel it could be a little longer? Ho 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 ho! Go on, take this charm home with you. Suddenly your enemies will be within reach. Steady body. I love this simple design on this little fellow. Very classy. It's made out of a nice solid heavy material too. Wear it and you'll be able to stay firmly in place when swinging your little nail around. Shaman Stone. Are you a spellcaster, you little scoundrel? Ho ho, I'm only teasing. If you ever learn any spells, you should buy this charm for yourself. I've heard it will make a spell much stronger. Quick focus. The crystal set in the center is lovely, isn't it? Exquisite, even. I've heard that crystals help you to focus, so that's something. If that's something you're interested in, El Canoe. Oh, it's Avia. Thank you very much. Thank you, Avia, and Elkanu actually gives me a chance. The Eyes of Sin designed some really great emotes here, so I do hope you get a chance to play around with these charmers. Hey, Elkanu's already taken advantage of them. Actually, yeah, the Aristotle Chortle or System 1 Glad doesn't quite get used as often. I'm really happy to see that one being used more often. That's one of the more recent ones that Eyes of Sin made for me. So I thought she did a wonderful job with these emotes, by the way. So, all right. By the way, I believe, so I know some of you would like to see more things to do with your channel points. If you are not subbed to the channel and you would like to take advantage of the emotes, and not just in my channel but in other ones, I believe you can pay with channel points to have access to those emotes. So I'm still thinking about some ways that I can handle channel points, but that is something that you can take advantage of, because I feel very happy when I see those emotes used. Right, you want to wear a lot of charms, don't you? Of course you do. Buy this charm notch and you'll be able to wear more of your charms at once. All right, we're going to go ham as an MFer on this. Thank you. Thank you, Avia. Once you own 18 charms, I'll gladly sell it to you. Well. Only need 2 more. Keep collecting. Cool. Do you wear a lot of charms at once? It's a lot of fun, isn't it? Mixing and matching them to get the perfect combination. I don't know whether you've noticed, but some charms seem to like each other. Yes, when charms like each other, they shine even brighter and sing even more sweetly. Even more reason to try all sorts of fun and surprising combinations of charms. You'll show me whenever you have a new favorite, right? It's a bit of a sin to wear too many charms at once, isn't it? Sometimes less is more. Yes, you shouldn't try to cram on more charms than you can handle. The effect could be positively overwhelming. My dapper gadfly, would you care to know how charms are made? I don't often tell my customers, what with the truth being a little morbid, but you're a sharp one, so you may have guessed already. No, video game charms are a mathematical problem that I'm going to solve for optimum efficiency and never change. Uncle Cranky with the ultimate indication of gamer mentality. Oh, actually, Uncle Cranky's been another dedicated viewer of the Elder Scrolls series. So I should, I was originally going to make it like a surprise, but now that I know there might be some problems with it, so I got a mute. So I've decided I am going to continue on with the Elder Scrolls series. So we've done Arena, Daggerfall. We completed Morrowind this week, and the high-quality VODs are available on YouTube, as well as the low-quality ones on Twitch. I've actually recorded a couple of episodes of Oblivion already, so we will be moving on into that. However, it does seem that the first episode is muted on Twitch, and so I'm going to try and do the rerun of it. So if that doesn't work on Tuesday, there will be a gap, and you will be able to watch that video on YouTube so far as I can tell. However, it does not appear that the second episode is affected by that. So there may be a small interruption. We'll have to find out on Tuesday, because once you start doing a rerun on Twitch, I don't believe you can stop them. But I thought I should get that out of the way. I'm actually really enjoying Oblivion so far. But then that was also true of Daggerfall. So we'll see. I like the mods that came out of it. One of you may feel a great pride in seeing. I don't know. Actually, no. It's just because you work for a place doesn't mean that you have to love everything that they do. But yeah, I'm getting into the Elder Scrolls games. I think it's fair to say. All right, few ways a charm appears, but mainly it's from Final Wish, a dying bug's potent desire crystallized into these gorgeous, powerful trinkets. Now, don't go getting too sad. These are exceptions, of course, and really, it's quite beautiful. Makes them all the more precious. Now just think of the little bug souls that went into creating your collection. It's like a crowd of strangers in your pouch, or purse, or wherever it is you keep them. Thank you so much, Avia, and thank you for sharing the sub with Elkanu. I hope you have a good dinner and a good night. Or good morning, I guess. It's rare enough that someone enters my store, but even rarer to meet one so striking. Those impressive horns, that fierce weapon, the air of mystery. Ooh, it's enough to make me swoon. All right. Long nail's kind of tempting, so if we add that, I've got 2 left. Quick focus is also one that might save me a bit. At some point, I should try some of the combinations. I don't know if it'll show you... Like, so I don't know if you equip ones that are complementary, if it will give you some sort of visual indication that you've done that. But these are some abilities that I kind of like. Yeah, that was what I took from that too, Valiant Cheese. And Uncle Cranky says, man, the extra charm notches really open up avenues for maximizing damage PS. Or sorry, damn it, damage per DPS was what I meant to say, but I screwed it up. No, that's a charm that I could equip. And, I mean, there might be an argument for me to equip that again, seeing as I just spent a lot of it. But in this case, I'm going to wind up exploring through a few different areas, and so I think there's a little more value in running around with... Oops. In this case, I think there's a little more value in packing some of these more utility items. I was debating about equipping the long nail because I think I'm going to wind up getting a little too familiar with using it. I don't know if I've been... Oh yeah, clearly I have. Executed with impunity. Wait. I hear something to the left. I'm just not quite sure what to make of it. Yeah, pale thing. Use these old lines? Pathetic. A real warrior carries himself into combat. He has no need for such convenience. Oh, they're very easy to say, Alkanu. Thank you very much for stopping by. Thank you very much for the host. Looking forward to catching one of your live streams again. I hope you have a great great evening and enjoy your weekend. T-Series was voiced by one of the Team Cherry staff. Oh, interesting. Leave me be. It's the area I seek. I've already wasted far too long on these cursed roads. Oops. So what I'm kind of trying to do here is just see, so when I run through, you didn't stick to the spreadsheet and just made up the language. So you can sort of hear, oh, there we go. I'm just trying to remember how to get back to... You know what? I should take the... I think I'm going to ignore the bully and take the train. If the art direction for that part of the map is any indication, quite a few. Oh, I gotta remember. I think it was the distant village. It was where we had the sleeper. Damn it! No! Ah, yes, I remember this area. This is where I was originally going to be going in the stream. Do I even have a map for here? Looks like we've explored most of it. I'm bad. I don't want to run into that same problem we had last time where I couldn't defend myself. Oh, I know, Johan, I know. I don't know if you were here earlier, but there was a case where this thing actually jumped over the gap, and I had no way of sort of getting out of the... Like, I had no way of getting out of its way. I had no way of escaping. It just was on top of me and drained out my health to the end. I don't know what I thought I was doing there. I thought I was going to be able to dash away. Wow! What am I doing? Good God. I don't seem to remember having this much trouble getting onto this side of the map. I'm gonna go hunt for some new souls. Oh, please, don't be shy. There are there's some nasties down here, all right? Not me. I am a friend to all and happy to serve a traveler so bold as you. Is it information you seek? That I can provide. Yes, oh yes. That village above here, home to a sad creature. Hers is a tale of tragic exchange. Cost her and her people greatly, though I suspect she bore no regret in making it. Yes, I know, you're intrigued. You want to know the tale. Well, I'm sorry, I'd love to tell it, but I'm very, very sorry, and I haven't eaten in some time. And oh, I'm starving. Ah! So maybe I just used my, Vengeful Spirit on this guy afterwards. Yeah, I don't know why I found that so hard to deal with, but here we are. Now I can just worry about all the other terrifying things in this map. No! I actually avoided doing that jump. Or I avoided doing the dash because I thought I would overshoot it. I don't know, I'm thinking of renting property here. I bet the rates are good. Got a pretty effective neighborhood watch, it looks like. Sometimes something pure and simple as a hammer to the forebrain is the best approach. Organic shade grown. Neighbors might bug you a bit. Good to see you again, Endors. How you doing? I think I owe you a happy new year as well. I know you've been very good at coming in on the Hollow Knight streams. I really appreciate that. Not friends. Sometimes violence isn't the answer. Sometimes it's the question, and the answer is yes. I feel that Deep Nest is a very misunderstood place. Speaking of misunderstood, I think you folks are just being babies. I mean, okay, look, I'll admit, you know, as somebody whose apartment gets a little bit cluttered, sure, the cobwebs might, you know, make you think that the place is, I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I always make, the thing I don't like is I always make the same mistakes on these guys. At this point, there really should be no excuse. But yeah, I don't know. You can't judge a book by its cover. This place is cozy. I know. As a moderator for Outworld, Uncle Cranky is, I believe, morally obligated to cringe every time I say the C word. The silken mask industry is booming. Now, this is the place I got trapped last time, so gotta be on my best behavior. Also, I'm gonna get a little extra health because it's all wasted resources if I have a full... Oh, is that true, Uncle Grant? Thank you. You were actually, I think you were on my list too. It listed myself on the list. I'm like, I'm my own biggest fan. But yeah, I wasn't too crazy about the review email from Twitch. It's nice that they do that, but I think some of the phrasing they chose was less than ideal. I have fought them. I'd rather not have the tip though. Top watch category was Hive Time. Why would you say? What's that, Valiant Cheese? Why are you into that sort of stuff? Okay, so theory. Well, that's got to be the Outworld effect, though, right, Cranky? This is going to be a conversation, right? I feel like a bit of a jerk now. Just gonna enjoy a nap. I'm actually, that probably makes more sense with the Morrowind stuff, I think. Well, I was already in the dream. Like, I don't know. That sucks if I missed out on some dialogue. Let's just see. I think I can bring up a browser to see that. Time sync? I thought you enjoyed it. I have been trying not to make jokes along those lines for like ever since they introduced the Dream Nail. Okay. I'm trying to avoid anything that might. I've kind of learned a way to scan over wikis to avoid too many details because they're really inconsistent in letting you know about So it says Dreamnail dialogue, bound for brood for child, fair bargain made, give all for her. Which admittedly is not the end of the world if I didn't realize, but it would be kind of nice if I don't know, it would be kind of nice if I'd known that I could have got dialogue out of that. But yeah, it did allude to it did allude. The nice thing is that it did allude to events that had already been covered inside of the game. So it's not a disaster. But I kind of feel like they could have done a better job of letting me know there was a dialogue option. But it could be that there was an intent behind not making that obvious. Now, one thing I do want to address about the game, which I think is really neat, is remember we started off in this layer. in at the start of the stream, and then I ran into that body. This is where I appreciate people not giving away the store, because I don't know exactly how the game is successfully doing it, but notice that not even necessarily through any specific intent, but the very next thing I wound up doing was going to an area that ultimately gave me the device that I needed to overcome that challenge. And that's not really the first time that's happened inside of this game. So again, this is one of these things where, I just kind of assume that game developers have superpowers. Valiant Cheese is in the chat, so he can confirm that. But I do think it's very cool that I had something that I ran into in the game that may not necessarily have been something that, so it was something I couldn't overcome, and it wasn't obvious to me what step I would need to take. And yet through just a very natural progression in the game, I was able to kind of get the item that I needed to overcome it. And it felt like a very natural sequence of events. So... Oh, just saying that developers have superpowers, and that you could in fact confirm this status. Not quite sure how I'm supposed to get up there, but that's probably a one-way trip. Also, having now seen that there's a couple of areas that I could have that gave sound cues that there was somebody I needed to rescue. I don't think it would hurt for me to walk back through a few old areas. So there's a few things. Number one, there are areas where, like, I was kind of under the impression that if I saw water, I couldn't cross it. That's clearly not true. Some of the other details. Okay, I actually need to go down. There we go. I don't deserve this. It's actually kind of neat. They seem to get... so the addition of this, like these dream... oh, what the hell are they called? Essence. They kind of get some extra mileage out of the levels. You've got the first pass at the level, and then you've got all this stuff that you need to collect. It's gonna take some effort to get back, I think. I will admit, I do prefer the model of giving, like, so I've kind of talked about how I sometimes respond negatively to that feature of Metroid style games because of the like sometimes the game can be a little too pleased with itself over the fact that it's making you walk across the map again because you didn't do it in the right order. But I do prefer it to, just having a key that makes you walk. Like, the key is the really obvious case of, like, we wanted to sort of pad this thing out, so we're making you traverse physical space in order to do that. It's actually, I think, the reason why I've reacted negatively to it in previous games is because it feels like that's exactly what they're doing. And in the case of this game, very clearly I've been gated in terms of some progress, but it's definitely felt a lot more natural to, like, I just sort of feel like I've naturally moved from one area to another, and that I've had a very limited number of cases where I sort of feel like I'm going out of my way to be able to find a piece of gear to make my progress. How did I miss this guy before? No! This is going to be a tricky one. Ouch. Okay, for some reason I swapped my, careful. Attack and jump. I was going to try something on that last run, but he died too quickly. Yeah, I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't need to like make a manifesto about, you know, the ideal design of one of these kinds of games. Like, the fact of the matter is that I may just not be equipped for that type of game, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, you know, I am not the world's biggest fan of clicker games, and then, you know, I played Cultist Simulator, and then I played Universal Paperclips, and those are two rather good. I mean, Cultist Simulator is more inspired by clicker games than anything else. It's maybe a little less obvious. Like, it certainly wasn't obvious to me that was an influence, but obviously doing the interview, I was sort of able to learn that. Yeah, I get it, because I think you're done with this game now, if I'm not mistaken, Indoors, right? Yeah, like, sometimes you just, I don't know what I thought I was gonna accomplish with that. I feel that from a design perspective, what you want to be achieving is giving the player a new relationship with familiar. Yeah, exactly. This is more of a smooth-brained, cranky game than a Galaxy. Really? This is just, I don't know. I've definitely had some stuff where I'm, like, I've missed some really obvious steps inside of this game. Oh, that's nice of the game to put me up higher. I suck. No, if you equip the Dash Master, you can do a downward dash, but upward dashes are the thing that I would really, really like. I'm sure I could write an all-capital letter email to Team Cherry asking them to implement an upward dash, and they will point out every single place that would be trivialized by the inclusion of that ability. The closest that I have right now is my Mantis Claw, which lets me drag or kind of hang on to walls. There's still something I want to try on these guys, but... Cool. So that's not the upward dash, but it's kind of the closest thing I've got to that. Oh really? Obviously, whatever lost progress I had was worth keeping myself alive. I think I'm going the wrong way, though. Take a quick peek to see if there's anything I can take for souls. That's neat. I was kind of wondering when you said that there was a slow upward dash, whether or not that was something that winds up getting used in some kind of speed run or something like that. But I'm sure you all know. I think Uncle Cranky probably knows more about speedrunning than I do. I actually, to be honest, I don't even really watch them all that much. Not for any dislike at what they do. It's just a very different kind of. It's just a very different kind of activity than what I'm sort of accustomed to getting out of games for myself. So I don't know. I don't want to say I discount it, but it's not the. It's something that I probably would be more into if I had the time to like really get into what. Oh man, I've got. So this is where the map kind of betrays me, because obviously it's just marked this whole area as a big room. It doesn't really indicate where any of the platforms or anything are. Right now, I'm just trying to get the last little bits of essence. I would guess that there's probably 6 more for me to get out of this room. Oh, no, well, shows what I know. So I would like to head back to the tree and see what's going on. Nest alive, sleeping queen, beast. Okay. I'm at 3.5 hours. I kind of got what I wanted done, but I do know that there's this. I noticed that there's this upper area. This is like up and to the left. It's possible that there is something that I can't pass there. So I was gonna call it, but this map is just so compelling. I think it's the fact that everybody says that they're creeped out by this area. Just gives me... I feel a real urge to to stay in the places people find unpleasant. Now I think I know why I didn't make progress here. I'll tell you, the one thing that really does still give me a bit of a start is every once in a while when there's a creature that... it's so close. Every once in a while when a creature appears in the foreground. Especially because some of those flying units, it looks very similar to the animation that they play when they appear. So that sometimes catches me. These guys. I'm assuming there is a purpose for going down this narrow pathway. I just don't recall exactly what. I went back just because it felt preferable to not to be rushed by the presence of a ne'er-do-well. Yeah, no worries, Valiant Cheese. I hope you have a good time with the Hive Time stream. Tell them they're doing a good job. Deep Mess is a lot more fun after you get some damage. Do you remember how you got down here? I think I got here like a week ago. I'm gonna be honest, Endors, I don't think I remember. I like this guy already. Hello, dog. Is it mask or face upon the creature? And Hollow Nest a difficult thing it can be to decipher. A wonderful thing to have a face, not a thing which we all are blessed, with which we are all blessed. For this kingdom's faceless, I shall provide. Yes, Johan did say that the mask industry was booming. A mask, a face. Does it need one? Does it not? To define, to focus, to exist. Does it know of the face that it hides beneath? Such remarkable contrast the worm conceived. Oh man, I didn't even think of trying this on living people until now. There's potentially a lot of stuff for me to figure out here. Alright, yeah, as long as it saves progress. I was debating about going for longer, but I actually have a lot of stuff that I need to catch up for myself, so I feel like that was a decent, I think that's kind of, I don't know, I'm sorry if you guys wanted to see a little bit more, but I actually really feel like that was a decent place to go. And I like how we started off with not knowing what to do with the beast. And, oh, sorry. I'll do the journal entries another time. But yeah, this is, I've really enjoyed doing this game. I know I probably have a lot more of it to do, so I'm still gonna have to try and figure out its place in my schedule. While I'm finding someone to host, I'll just do a quick recap of some of the stuff that's going on the stream. So for those of you that like watching the YouTube stuff, or maybe find that a little bit more easier, I have been doing my best to get a lot of material recorded in fairly good time. So I actually have a nice little, sort of back catalog now of, or not to back catalog, but I have a nice little runway in terms of some pre-recorded videos, and that's going to help me out in terms of just overall planning. So for those of you, basically there will be a new episode of a Cultist Simulator playthrough. We're currently doing the Apostle Obstinate run. That is currently broadcasting at 6 o'clock every Wednesday. And I'll actually let you know, I don't have an exact date for it, because I just don't remember. But there will be, I am going to be increasing the rate at which those videos come out. That's been a pretty consistent bit of feedback that I've been getting from people, that they would like to see more. They like to see more of them, and that's a nice problem to have. But I would also like to make sure that that I'm able to sort of maintain a pace. So if I can get a nice little runway of those videos done, that's easier for me, and it looks like I'm able to. It looks like I'm able to get that done. The same with Oblivion. So I've got more than one Oblivion video recorded. YouTube is still processing them. They're very large files. But with the possibility of a problem on Tuesday, my plan is to still do the same thing with those. Basically, I will be. I'm going to. The way that I do those is I record a high quality version for YouTube, and then I sort of downscale everything and upload a copy to Twitch. And then for the Twitch, it's a vodcast, which everybody can sort of participate in chat for. One thing that I might do, though, to make it a little bit easier for YouTube viewers is I may make it so that I might actually start breaking those videos up into 1 hour chunks and then just run 3 of those videos on Tuesdays. Again, I still need to figure that all out for myself, but... same name, yes, exact same name on YouTube. And yeah, Zenkosh, you mentioned that before, I think. You found me specifically through the Cultist Simulator stuff, I think. But anyways, yeah, so please hang around. I am gonna host someone tonight. But yeah, so just a quick warning. There's a copyright problem with the very first video of Oblivion. I suspect it is the Elder Scrolls theme that's causing that. But the plan for that will still be that there will be a vodcast on Twitch. The highest quality version of it will always be on YouTube. Those will always be broadcasting at the same time, 7 o'clock. And then there's always archives of these videos. I cannot broadcast to YouTube and Twitch at the same time. So there's always a couple of days delay between that and me uploading them. But I'm pretty consistent at making sure that everything gets up before Twitch turns that down. So the usual plans, Monday is kind of a dedicated Phantom Brigade day for the next little while. I think that game is just the bee's knees. It's awesome. And then we did finish up Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, so it's possible that next Wednesday and Friday might just be all Hollow Knight. There are a couple of other things that I've been considering, but right now I'd really like to sort of clean out a lot of games that I've started but not necessarily finished. So the plans as usual for the people who like my live stuff: Monday, Phantom Brigade, and I will make sure I do at least one day of Hollow Knight next week on Wednesday or Friday, possibly 2. We'll figure it out. And then for those who like VOD stuff, Cultist Simulator on Wednesdays with an added stream hopefully in future. And then there's going to be some more YouTube stuff that I'm doing in future. I will try and keep those videos within an hour, but particularly for those of you who just like the sound of my voice and would like to maybe have something to kind of fall asleep to, I'm trying to bring those videos back and do them in a slightly better format. So hopefully you guys enjoy those. Yeah, so yes, my Hollow Knight stuff is on YouTube, Endors, and I've actually, so one thing that's changed about the format is every game that I stream now, I do put the title of the game, so it's like in square brackets. So every Hollow Knight stream should be in square brackets called Hollow Knight stream. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them now. And yeah, actually, there's a little bit of news on Book of Hours. So I believe that is scheduled for a 2022 release date. Now they'll probably be finishing it around at the end of this year, but they're likely going to, like, you don't want to release something over the holidays. So we'll probably see we'll probably have gameplay for Book of Hours halfway through 2021. But I suspect we're not actually going to see the full release until next year, sometime around this time, I suspect. Anyways, I've outstayed my welcome. I appreciate those of you that hung around. I know a few of you have already gone, but I would love it if you would stay around for Night Valian, who is playing a game I've never heard of, which is Stella. Night Valian is a Brazilian streamer. He's been a real sort of gem. The hours don't always work for me, but he's really great with a bunch of just different types of streams. Quite a few puzzle games lately, which I think Stella might be. Oh, is it? Okay, cool. Olaf gives an endorsement then, so that's worth it. Again, sorry for the extended farewell. I hope you all have a good night. Enjoy your weekend. I'm going to get some videos recorded, and I will see the live folks Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Some of you, like the podcast, I'll see on Tuesday. And of course, for those of you who can watch on YouTube, I always appreciate you, especially the ones who stay to the ending. That actually really does help my metrics when people watch the full videos. So that's it's kind of you to do so. But for some of you who watch on YouTube, I'll see you for the future uploads. All right. On to Night Valian.